of course, and you got to get the dust bunnies from under the bed.
Things that normally I wouldn't care
No, I wouldn't care about at all.
Like if someone said, let's go watch Netflix, I'd be like, okay, leave all that, let's do it.
I know. But once I sit down, so I've become quite disciplined. Since I've been here, I've written about, how many? I don't know, about 45 pages or something. So that's pretty good. Yeah. In a week.
And
so.
you're struck on something. There's the discipline. It's you can have all the passion and talent and ideas you want. They're not a book until you apply the discipline and sit down and do that. And I can be. Deadlines help, though.
Oh, they do help me.
They help, right?
They do help. And you're quite right what you're saying. I mean, writing book one over and over and over again has really helped me do book two, because I know I've got about 7 years I can cut out, thank goodness, in order to write this. So I only started writing book two in January, so it's going to be...
I remember like when I first started and I passive voice, and it's like, oh gosh. And now I don't, like if I go through a book after looking for passive voice, I can't hardly ever find it.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was like I spent, 2 weeks just hauling out pieces and fixing them and putting them back in so that they were active and more interesting.
Exactly.
And better.
Exactly.
And now I don't have to do it as much. My editor's grateful for that as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about The Lost Letter from Morocco. I said it right.
You did. You did. Yes.
Do anything wrong there?
Yeah.
It's because I could see the cover. Well, first of all, that cover is spectacular.
Yeah, thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It seems to catch the eye. So
I think
that's good.
so.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you to talk about it. I finished it last night.
Okay.
Finally. Thank goodness I finally finished it. I always got books on the go and can't seem to find time to finish.
Yeah. And
so I sat down and I said, I'm finishing this before the interview. Mm-hmm. So there's two stories, really.
Yes.
Which... So, something I haven't done. I haven't written in that...
time slip.
I haven't done that. Mm-hmm. Where I have a friend who wrote a book recently that is... like that, and I quite enjoy it. I just haven't tackled it myself. So, but the main story is the more contemporary story.
That's right.
And you've set it in Morocco, which is a place you've spent a lot of time.
Yes.
The descriptions are absolutely... because you can picture the blues and the greens.
It's such a colorful place. It really is. It envelops you in color when you're there. Color, sound, smells, spices, and it's like nowhere else I've ever been.
And I've never been there, but I know people who've gone and they just say it's just intoxicating.
It's intoxicating. It's almost sensory overload. Right. Some people do find that as well.
Right.
But I just quite love it. I love it.
And so you've done that description absolutely well. If you don't need to travel, you will travel in this book. You will feel that, and that's one thing. And I liked that in a book. I like
doing that too.
I like when I'm reading a book to feel that I'm in the place.
Exactly.
I don't want them to jump over. Now that doesn't mean I want they don't need to describe every blade of grass.
No.
But I want them to do a job so that I can feel like I'm there, transported into the place, and especially when it's an exotic place like Morocco, which is famous for being famous. And people go there because it's such an experience. Mm-hmm. And you've gone there, so we have this beautiful setting, and then you have this Canadian woman who has, via England, is now in Morocco chasing a mystery from her family's past.
That's exactly right.
And the past piece is the secondary story.
Yes,
that comes in.
That's right.
So there's this sort of line between... for her name is Addie, and for her, she's traveling this line between the two cultures.
That's
so she's Canadian and English, and now she's gone to Morocco, which is a totally different culture, and she's talking to people, and there's this sort of line where there's so much difference, but there's so much similarity.
Exactly.
Was that challenging?
No, in fact, that's exactly what I wanted to portray. Because there's so much misunderstanding about Muslim culture, and I've my partner's Moroccan, so disclosure. So that's why and he lives in the mountains.
So I can scratch that question out because
yes, there we go. And we've been having a long distance relationship for 12 years, so. I met him when I went on a short holiday with a girlfriend of mine, and he was my tour guide in the mountains, and love at first sight. It was really quite something. And we've been seeing each other since then, and he's been over to England a few times. But anyway, so I've been very much in with his family in the mountains. I've become very good friends with his sister and his mother, and he's got 2 brothers as well. So I feel very fortunate as being a woman. I've been able to see a side and get into a part of culture there that tourists don't get into, and certainly men would never get into, the women's culture there. So that's been really interesting. And I just, and I've been able to see the family interactions and be part of the family interactions. Now, he's not Arab. He's Amazigh, which they call themselves, like the Inuit call themselves.
By
but
him, you mean Omar?
Omar and my partner and his.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
so
why
they have.
He's Amazigh, which is more commonly called Berber. Okay. And they're the indigenous people of North Africa, and so I became very entranced by this cultural group, and I was just so inspired. I'd wanted to write a novel, and I had struggled for years about what to write about that would engage me enough to write a whole novel about it. And going there, I mean, I go about 4 times a year, for an extended period of time. So I thought, this is what I'm going to write about. I'm going to set it in Morocco. And I wanted my main character to be kind of an every woman so that readers could explore the world as she was exploring it, with her misconceptions and her, all of
she
the
makes
rest.
Some mistakes.
Oh, sure, of course
she steps on some toes at times. Puts
the wrong
herself in some situations that could not
dubious, maybe.
Yeah, quite innocently.
Yeah.
You can see that she's, but she also she very much wants to. I'm Western. I can do what I want.
Yeah,
I'm an independent woman.
Yeah.
And then she's in this culture where, but you got to be careful because there's a reality here that you're not seeing.
I know. So
and,
it's to show that, but it's also really to show that fundamentally people are the same. We all want to have happy families. We all want to have social interactions that are fulfilling and enjoyable. We all have sense of humor, People tend to forget when they talk about the other, this thing that's going on in the world now. They forget that these are people with lives and senses of humor and all the rest of it.
And jobs and
stresses. And, most people are worried about fixing the roof and getting food on the tables. All those things is what...
It's all the same.
It's all the same,
Yeah.
It's all the same. And I kind of wanted to just really make a very human story and let everybody see somebody's experience like that.
The culture that you describe when Addie goes, to me, is very similar to Newfoundland culture and maybe not to Newfoundland culture now as much because the outside has come in.
Yeah.
There, it seems like they're a little bit less invaded by the outside culture.
Right.
So maybe a Newfoundland and Labrador in the 50s or
I would say so.
40s.
I would say so.
Because even modern conveniences that we take for granted now, like, bathroom...
toilets.
And running
like
water
yes.
And other
These are
appliances and such things.
In a lot of the mountain villages, they either don't have those or they're very, very new,
Right.
The women in the mountains still, for the most part, wash the laundry in the river rather. They don't have washing machines.
Right.
And I did that too. I was doing that with them, which I thought was quite hard work, I have to say.
Yes, it would be.
But they're, it's like an open door policy for the neighbors to come by and they come by and it's like, oh, come down, have lunch with, it's all like that. Or come over and can I borrow some flour or do you have a couple of lemons? And, that kind of very open door policy is lovely.
You still find that in pockets of... places, even here in the tiny rural towns.
I love that.
Where people just, go and everybody sort of just wanders in. And
they wander
out.
in.
Now
it's not...
they do it in the shed. I don't know what that's about, but then I remember it was in the kitchen.
Yes,
I
remember that as a child in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You have that Newfoundland kitchen, which my kitchen in my flat.
Everybody had a huge kitchen.
Yeah, and I have a Newfoundland kitchen in England.
You have a big kitchen in England.
No, I have a tiny one, but it's all kind of
it's a Newfoundland.
Piggity, and I love it. So I did that. The other thing I really wanted to do with this story was I wanted to make a quest story where the woman was the one doing the quest.
Right.
Okay. Because quest stories are traditionally the woman stays at home, wrings her hands, where are they going to get back, and the man goes out and has all the adventures. Yeah. Well, I wanted to make the woman go out and have all the adventures. So that was really important to me. And that's why her surname is Percival.
Oh.
Which, Knights of the Holy Grail and all of this. So she is searching for her own Holy Grail.
Right.
She is one
of them. And so she's searching for this family mystery. Now, that's another interesting thing. So where she goes is not by accident. No. She finds some information about her father's death that she didn't know.
That's right.
And so she travels to this very specific place looking for this information, and nobody is telling her anything.
That's right.
In fact, they're playing complete.
Exactly. Don't know what she's talking about.
Don't recognize anybody from the photos. Don't know anything.
No. So I'll tell you what happens there. So her father passes away. He's a widower. Her mother had passed away many years before, and had her father's Irish, and his second marriage was. He's a geologist, so he travels around a lot. His first marriage was to a very posh English woman, so he had a daughter with that marriage, which is Addie's half-sister, Philippa. And that marriage didn't last. He went to Canada, got some work in Canada, out in British Columbia, met a woman out there, married, and had Addie, okay? But that wife died quite a long time ago. So, Addie went to university and she ended up going to England and getting some work there. She's a photographer. Okay?
And she's living in England.
She's living she's living in England when the story starts. And she has this difficult relationship with her older sister, who's a very successful interior designer.
They're very different people.
Yeah, very different people. And so this prickly relationship with her older sister. And so her father lives in Nanaimo, but he travels a lot for work, but he'd been retired, and he has a heart attack and he dies. And in his effects, which are sent to Philippa, and Philippa gives them to Addie because she can't be bothered to look at them, Addie finds a couple of interesting things. She finds a whole lot of Polaroids that her father had taken on some of his trips, and she finds half of a letter that he had been writing to her, to Addie, about this young woman that he'd met in Morocco. But it's half of the letter.
Just half.
Just half of a letter.
Just enough information to give
exactly.
her some
And she finds in these Polaroids, some Polaroids in Morocco, because he's written on the back in different areas in Morocco, and there's one with him in front of these spectacular waterfalls, which says, with Hanan, and it says a date, 1984, Zitoun, Morocco. And the young woman, and they've got their arms around each other, and the young woman is Moroccan, and she's pregnant.
Right. So there's your mystery.
There's your mystery. So it's during the recession in England in 2009. She's lost her photography business. It's gone bust. She's just gone through a breakup with her fiancé who's cheated on her, and she's just gone through breast cancer. So she's had every bad thing that could have happened to her. She's left a bit of money by her father, and she says, I'm going to go. I've got I can go to Morocco for 3 months. I'm going to go to Zitoun and find out if I can find who this Hanan and this baby, who will now be about 23 or 24 years old, who they are. My dad never told me anything about this.
Kind of suspicious.
Yeah,
because it's just very obvious what's going on.
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
so
yeah. So she suspects. She suspects. Now she doesn't know for sure that this woman was related that way to her father, but she suspects this might be something going on here. So she toodles off, figures that